Alder Knox, if that's you, your camera is not on. I mean, it's on our end, but it's not on your end. So you might want to fix that. Ariana, I'm not sure if you can help troubleshoot Alder Knox's video, but if you can, I think he might appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's your new computer, so you could tell me why I'm
Okay.
not being seen. I have no idea. I went
Okay.
into the video settings.
Are you using a webcam or the built-in
It
camera?
says it's an integrated webcam.
Okay, so you didn't plug in an extra camera with a
Nope.
USB cord okay.
Nope.
Let's see. Did you try signing out, signing back in, and restarting your computer?
Well, I went out, but I didn't sign all the way out.
Okay, sometimes you never know, sometimes that does help.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll come back
Maybe,
in.
Alder Knox, maybe just start by in Zoom, where that shows the camera icon, seeing what camera you've got chosen in Zoom. And also, if it's one of the newer computers, you may have to manually unblock the lens next to the little lens at the top of the screen.
From it looks like this icon that he's showing looks like the lens is blocked from the screen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know where the camera is on the
Yep. Yes.
the little level that you can move to the right? There you go. Now you're upside
Well,
down.
now I got upside down. You like that, huh?
I don't know.
How's that?
Excellent. Good job, Alder Knox.
Thank you. It's always a unique experience, right?
Okay. I will call to order the recessed Common Council meeting of April 15th, 2025, and ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Alder Figueroa Cole.
Here.
Glenn. Govindarajan. Ugair. Harrington McKinney is excused. Lankella. Knox.
Here.
Madison.
Here.
Martinez Rutherford. Matthews. Mayor. O'Brien. Okovich. Pritchett. Tischler. Verveer.
Here.
Vitiver. Duncan. Evers. Field. Madam Mayor, we have quorum.
Thank you. All right. So just a few bits of business before we get into the agenda. First of all, as usual, I'd like to remind us that we're here to do the business of the people of Madison, and that I hope we can do that with civility and kindness and grace. And in particular, that we can collectively refrain from using profanity in our remarks. I did slip a little bit at the earlier meeting. There's a little bit, but I feel like it was appropriate in the context. But just in general, we try and keep a certain level of decorum in this body and act with respect towards each other and the public and staff. So I just remind you of that. And then just a small bit of orientation if you haven't had it already. Each of you has a folder at your desk in which council staff will place your mail before each meeting so you can have it here. You also have 3 things that should remain in that folder. And so one of them, perhaps the most important, is the elected and appointed official code of ethical conduct as a reminder for you at each meeting. You also have information on emergency exits and evacuation. I encourage you to look at this document. And then you have a little cheat sheet on Robert's rules and making motions to help you, guide you through meetings should you need it. These three things should please remain in your folder for your reference at each and every council meeting. At the end of the meeting, you can leave your folder on the desk and staff will pack it up and then bring it back to you at the next meeting. But outgoing Council President Figueroa Cole asked me to give you that brief orientation, hopefully useful. That said, our first item of business is an honoring resolution. It is item 10, Legistar 87695, proclaiming April 21st, 2025 through April 25th, 2025 as Arbor Week. And for the reading, I'll turn to Alder Tischler.
Whereas the City of Madison has been recognized by the Arbor Day Foundation as a Tree City USA for the past 35 years, and whereas trees moderate temperature, and whereas stormwater management is improved by promoting tree canopy cover in communities, and whereas residents living in greener neighborhoods are healthier, and whereas planting trees provide an opportunity for community involvement and empowerment that improves the quality of life in our neighborhoods, and whereas the continued planting and care of trees in our cities shall provide the same benefits for the present and future residents of Madison. Now, therefore, be resolved that the mayor and the Common Council of the City of Madison, Wisconsin, does hereby proclaim the week of April 21st through April 25th, 2025 as Arbor Week in the City of Madison, and urges residents to celebrate and plant trees this week for the well-being of present and future generations.
Thank you, Alder. We will take that as moved by Alder Tischler and seconded by Alder Vitever. Thank you. And we have our very own city forester, Ian Brown, here to accept the proclamation.
All right, Mayor, Council, thank you very much for inviting me and reading the proclamation tonight. Why celebrate Arbor Day when we can celebrate Arbor Week, right? So Madison is a absolutely unique community. We're all proud to be here and be a part of it. We're approaching our 100,000th community tree, so that is also a celebration that we'll be looking forward to in the near future. But the trees that we have, it's great to get out and plant little trees. We're really focused on trying to support those little trees that we have and making them into big trees. That's where we get our community canopy benefits, and with your support, that's really what we're looking forward to. So with that, thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on item 10? Seeing none, is there any objection to recording unanimous vote in favor of item 10? Seeing no objection, we'll record a unanimous vote on item 10. And we'll go then to disclosures and recusals. Are there any disclosures or recusals on tonight's agenda from members of the body? Alder Vitever.
Item number 131, I'm an employee of the Department of Health Services. That will not affect my vote.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Field.
Thank you, Mayor. On item 110, that item relates to parking uses for UW-Madison. I'm an employee of UW-Madison, and that will not affect my vote.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Matthews.
For item 110, I also am an employee of UW-Madison, but that will not affect my judgment.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Tischler.
I'd like to disclose I'm going to plant a tree this week, and that I'm also an employee of the University of Wisconsin-Madison.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Mayer.
Regarding number 110, I am yet another employee of the UW-Madison, and it will not affect my vote.
Thank you, Alder. We have the UW-Madison caucus present and accounted for. Are there any further disclosures or recusals on items on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, then we will move on to the presentation of the consent agenda. Council President Vitiver.
First, the supermajority items. First, I'll start with the preface. A consent agenda is moved with the recommended action listed for each item on the agenda, except items that have registrants wishing to speak, items that alders have separated out for discussion or debate purposes. This document lists supermajority items, agenda items with recommendations different from the agenda, items for exclusions, items introduced from the floor, and agenda items with corrections. Now, the supermajority items. Item 21, Legislative File 87899, amending the 2025 Adopted Sustainability Improvements Capital Fund budget and authorizing the mayor and city clerk to amend the contract to Sustain Dane, Inc. for administering the Efficiency Navigator Program for 2024 to 2026. Item 97, Legislative File 87835, reapproving a certified survey map of property owned by 4621 LLC and 4701 LLC, located at 4621 Dutch Mill Road and 4701 Ellisad Drive in District 16. Item 99, Legislative File 87578, authorizing the Parks Division to submit and, if awarded, accept a grant of up to $25,000 from the Fairways Foundation for golf course improvements, and authorizing the mayor and city clerk to enter into a contract with the Fairways Foundation to accept the grant award. Item 103, Legislative File 87604, substitute, amending the 2025 water utility capital budget to increase existing budget authority to extend new water main along Midtown Road to improve system redundancy and hydraulic conditions ahead of adjacent development projects. Item 105, Legislative File 87606, amending the 2025 adopted budget for the Planning Division to add an additional $3,500 in Wisconsin Arts Board grant revenues and seeking Common Council approval of the 2025-26 Arts Grants Awards as recommended by the Madison Arts Commission. Item 108, Legislative File 87619, amending the 2025 operating budget and setting the 2025 rates for the sewer utility and stormwater utility. Items with recommendations different from the agenda. Item 110, Legislative File 87475, approving a certified survey map of property owned by Madison Square Storage, LLC, located at 2230 Pennsylvania Avenue. Excuse me, this was an agenda correction. And the recommendation is to council to adopt. We have no items for exclusion earlier today. Items introduced from the floor is Legislative File 87926, new license for Kavanaugh's Esquire Club. That will go to the Alcohol License Review Committee on 4/16 and Common Council on 5/6.
Thank you, President Vitiver. We have no additional registrants at this time. Are there any other items that alders would like to have excluded from the consent agenda at this time? Alder Pritchett?
Yes. Exclude item number 87610.
Alder, what agenda number is that?
It's item number 31.
Item 31. Thank you, Alder. Alder Harrington McKinney?
Item 105, file 87606, just for an explanation, please.
Item 105.
87606.
Thank you, Alder. Are there any additional exclusions from the consent agenda at this time? Seeing none, then let me just go through that once more to make sure we're all on the same page. The following items are supermajority items. Item 97 requires 14 votes. Items 21, 99, 103, and 108 require 15 votes. We have one item with a correction, that is item 110. The recommendation is to adopt. The The following items are excluded from the consent agenda, item 31 and 105. We have one introduction from the floor and no corrections. Anything else on the consent agenda? Seeing nothing, then, Council President Vitiver, a motion, please.
Move to adopt.
Moved and seconded to adopt the consent agenda. Is there any objection? Alder Harrington McKinney?
Madam Mayor, would you go to item 103, legislative file 87604? And maybe it's my glasses. When I went to 103, it says 87604. Is that the water utility? Am I misreading that?
That is the water utility, it's an amendment to the water utilities
Oh, I'm
capital
sorry.
budget.
I'm sorry. Yep.
Did you wish to have that excluded as well, Alder?
No, that was my error. It's 105.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. All right, then, the the consent agenda has been moved and seconded. Is there any objection to recording a unanimous vote in favor of the consent agenda with all of the recommendations therein? Seeing no objection, the consent agenda is passed, and we have no public comment at this time. So that will take us then to item 31. Item 31 is Legistar 87610, determining a public purpose and necessity and adopting a transportation project plat number 5992-10-19, City of Madison, Mineral Point Road, U.S. Highway 12 to High Point Road for the acquisitions per the plat of land and interests required. On item 31, Council President Vitiver, a motion, please.
Move to adopt.
Council Vice President? Moved and seconded to adopt item 31. On item 31, are there questions for staff? Alder Pritchett?
Yes. There are several questions that I'd like to address. Beginning with, what's the scope of the work?
Alder Pritchett, can you speak a little bit more into the microphone?
Yes.
And let me just make sure. I'm going to imagine that this is City Engineer Wolf that will be answering? Yes, okay. So just wanted to make sure we have the correct staff here, Alder, so please go ahead.
Yes. So the question is, what's the scope of the work that they're doing in this area and the timeline? And in addition to that, given that this area is upstream from the Salt Creek corridor, shouldn't that work be done before they address, the Salt Creek corridor?
Engineer Wolf, would you just outline the project for the Alder?
Yeah, I can certainly do that. So this item that is on the council agenda tonight is authorizing us to acquire some lands for a stormwater easement. It's not actually approving any of the construction work, but it's related to our Mineral Point Road reconstruction project coming up in 2027, which has some federal funds connected to it. So there's particular procedures and wording that we need to use associated with that type of a project. So this isn't actually authorizing any construction work or approving any plans and specs. It's authorizing us to acquire an easement. A little bit of additional background on this particular easement. This was actually dedicated to the city as a temporary easement when the certified survey map was completed in this area back in 1971. But it was actually never documented as a permanent easement. So it's been utilized as a stormwater corridor for the last 50 plus years under a temporary easement. And so this resolution would be authorizing the city to actually document that and formalize it as a permanent easement.
Thank you, Engineer Wolf. Alder, did you have a follow-up? Go ahead.
Yeah, the second question is this. When we begin to look at this area being upstream, from the Salt Creek corridor, then are there consequences? Meaning, if it's upstream and let's say we have a huge torrential rain and yet we don't know what some of the consequences are with respect to flooding. Is that a potential problem? Has that been addressed with respect to consequences of?
Engineer Wolf, am I correct in stating that the land in question that you're trying to acquire a permanent easement over is currently functioning as stormwater lands?
That is correct. And so it's been part of our watershed planning and studies, including the Sauk Creek Greenway, now for the last couple of years.
And you're not, at this point in time, proposing to do anything different with it?
Correct.
So although it's just formalizing the easement, that the city would actually acquire a permanent easement, it's not proposing any change in the use of the land at this point in time?
So it's just the easement and nothing more?
That's correct.
Okay.
I'm sure that the engineers would be happy to talk you through with maps as needed if you want to take a moment to meet with them at some point.
I would, yes. That would be great.
Thank you, Alder. Any additional questions on item 31?
Just one more.
Go ahead, Alder.
What's the timeline? And will there be a conceptual plan?
Jim, so again, my understanding is that you're not planning to do anything different with this land. It's just to acquire the land.
Correct. On this particular item, and it's related to a reconstruction project coming up in 2027, and there will be additional plans and specs coming through the council for approval prior to that project.
So any projected work wouldn't be until 2027.
Okay. And assuming then that there will be a partnership before anything is done?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. Are there any other questions on item 31? Seeing none, it's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Seeing no discussion, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any objection to recording a unanimous vote in favor of item 31? Seeing no objection, that vote will be recorded. And we will go on to item 105. Item 105 is Legistar 87606, amending the 2025 adopted budget for the Planning Division to add additional funds in Wisconsin Arts Board grant revenues and seeking Common Council approval of the 2025 to 2026 Arts Grants Awards as recommended by the Madison Arts Commission. On item 105, Council President Vitiver, a motion, please.
Move to approve.
Moved and seconded to approve item 105. I will note that this is a 15-vote item. On item 105, are there questions for staff? Alder Harrington McKinney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For staff, if someone from staff would just give us an overview of the increased $3,500.
I see Director Tuttle is here with us. Planning Director Tuttle.
Hi, thank you, Alder. Yes, the $3,500 increase that we are requesting to amend our operating budget by reflects an additional $3,500 that the Wisconsin Art Board has awarded the city in grant revenue. When we adopted our budget for 2025, it included $11,500 in grant revenue from this fund. But we have been advised that we've been awarded an additional $3,500 to bring the total to $15,000.
Thank you very much. That was a good explanation to have.
Thank you,
No
Alder.
further questions.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Figueroa Cole.
Thank you, Mayor. I see him there. This question is for finance. What is is there a threshold for these resolutions to come to council? I was just discussing this one earlier with staff about the dollar amount.
Alder Figueroa Cole, any increase to an appropriation that doesn't involve a transfer between agencies or between major budget lines requires approval of the council.
any dollar amount, doesn't matter how small it is?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. Are there any additional questions on item 105? Seeing none, then it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on item 105? Seeing no discussion, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any objection to recording a unanimous vote in favor of item 105? Seeing no objection, we'll record that vote. That will take us then to the end of our agenda. Are there any announcements or further introductions of items from the floor? Alder Madison.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say quickly, in case folks didn't catch it on the agenda, but I believe it's agenda item number 50 for the Imagination Center awarding the contracts. The contracts did come in under bid. And I just want to thank the council for supporting the project and, getting us to the point where shovels will be in the ground soon, because that project is super important to my district and to District 12. So thank you.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Figueroa Cole.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to take the opportunity to once again, welcome every all the new alders and the rest of the elders for this new cohort, but also to thank staff, in general, but especially the council office staff. This was a pretty hectic day, and it has been a pretty hectic 2 weeks with preparing for this meeting. A lot of deadlines that were not met and caused quite a stressful situation. So I just want to make sure that they know that we as a body appreciate you. So thank you to everyone. Thank you for Liz this morning to get the consent agenda out. Debbie and Karen and Isaac, Larissa, and also I forgot the name of the restaurant downstairs, something Apple, whatever.
Ugly Apple.
Ugly Apple for providing the meal, and the Over Garden for hosting us. So just didn't want to end the day without letting them know that we see you, we appreciate you, and thank you very much. So that's all.
Thank you, Alder Figueroa Cole. Are there any additional announcements or introductions? Alder Martinez Rutherford.
I just want to second what Alder Figueroa Cole said. Thank you for all coming to District 15 this morning, to Olbrich Gardens, and being present in my district, the best district in the city, as well as Ugly Apple. Ugly Apple has been a staple in the community for quite some time now. Their ability to show up when they need to has been beautiful, and they have really given the community a lot, and the community has given back a lot to them too. So I just wanted to say an extra huge thank you to them too.
Thank you, Alder. I will note that this time on the agenda is for announcements.
I'm single.
That's an announcement. Thank you, Alder. I'm not sure it's in order, but it's an announcement. Alder Harrington McKinney, an announcement?
I will stay in the announcement realm. This morning I was absent, so I'm announcing that I'm present, but I really want to welcome and say congratulations to both new alders and the ones that are returning. And so that's an announcement. So that fits, right?
We're
very
skirting the edges, but I'll allow it. Thank you, Alder. All right. Then finally, I would ask that all of the newly elected alders please stay for a moment after the meeting. We'd like to get a photo of this class. And would also just mention that I certainly am happy, and I'm sure that council leadership is happy as well, to answer any questions you might have on tonight's agenda and on future agendas as well. So with that, Alder Figueroa Cole, it remains your turn.
Move to adjourn.
Moved and seconded to adjourn. Is there any objection to recording unanimous vote in favor of adjournment? Seeing none, with the hope that this is not the only time we have such a short meeting, we are adjourned. Have a good evening, everyone. So if we can have the new alders come.